people keep telling use GenAI. कहाँ से शुरू करें? So this is just very first program where you will be calling the GenAI API. To be specific, you will be calling GPT API or GPT model via API. It's very simple program. We will be doing everything in cursor editor. Just follow along with me, very basic series. So just download the cursor. And then the second step, what we are going to do is hope you downloaded the cursor. It's very simple. And then the next step is that we have to just open the folder. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'll just create a new folder. I'll do all the steps from the beginning. It might look a little bit lamba video. So what I'm going to do is repos and I'll just create, yeah, I already created one folder called GenAI Basics. I just open it up. So this is the folder which I have opened it up. And inside the folder, so inside this folder, GenAI Basics, I created new folder. You can create something like this. You can just create something like this, new folder, right? And then once you create the new folder, which is this one, right? And then inside this folder, I'll be creating a file. So the file name, let's give like day one. For example, this is day one of GenAI. So IPYNB, I'm not giving extension .py, I'm giving extension IPYNB, so it will appear as a Jupyter notebook. So we can run the code line by line. I just do that. The moment you do that, it will automatically do that. And then you have to select the interpreter. For me, it's already selected. So for you, if you are using cursor, you have to select the interpreter, which means how would you do? So I just click over here. For you, it would be displaying option like select interpreter. You have to select that and you have to use various options. Try to use the one which shows .vnv. The moment when you select that, for me it's selected, it will create folder like this .vnv in some couple of minutes. So it's creating virtual environment, which means you're trying to create an environment within which this program is going to run. So whatever the modules, libraries you need to call the GPT APIs, that libraries will be running or installed in this local container virtual environment. So that other projects when you create and other projects might require different libraries, so it will not conflict. I don't want to stretch more, but this is the main example. Now after this, what you need to do is you need to install the required libraries. Here we would be using various libraries. So let's install the libraries. So to install the library, I am using UV. So UV is also alternative to the pip, which is a typical package manager tool. So I am using UV. You can just find how to install UV. There are a list of steps. The link is given in this video description. UV is way fast forward than pip. So that UV you will be using to install the library. Now here I'm going to use one of the library. Let me first show you what is the code and then we will install the library while we're talking. So I just created on this editor plus code. Let's, so first thing first, before we start, you do create the file called .env, because ultimately you'd be calling the GPT APIs. For that, you have to have the GPT platform API key. So you just Google on the internet, you have to go to the platform URL of the chat GPT or the GPT, and then you have to generate your own API key and then create this file called .env, the same name, no change, there is no extension, it's .env. The file will look like this. I'm not showing my key. And whatever the key you get, you have to create like this is like constant string, plus you will be pasting the whatever key you got it from your platform. You have to use this key. This is very sensitive, so never expose your environment file publicly, but just get that API key and put it here. Don't include any space. So this is your OpenAI API key. This is I'm giving as a placeholder name kind of variable, and this is your actual key. So for me, I'm using OpenAI API key. I'm not showing my environment file, of course. Let's go to over here. And the first thing first, what we need to do is we need to load this environment file into our this program so that we can use this, we can read this file, and we would need this API key when we call the GPT API. Wow, it's so smart, right? That's what I was trying to tell you. But the cursor editor I'm talking about. So first thing first, we are not going to import OpenAI. First thing first, we'll be opening from .env import load.env. So I just press tab. So if you want to accept the cursor suggested code, you just simply press tab. I just did that. I'm going to did that again because it looks perfectly for me. So this is what it does. So what it did is I just imported load.env function from this module in Python. I am calling the that function load.environment, which means I am loading this file into this program. With override is equal to true. Override is equal to true. It does simple one thing. So this API key you might have set at global level, at profile level. So maybe that older key might still be in scope. So we want to override that with the one what you have specified in environment. So that's why we are forcing this program to use the OpenAI API key which is defined in .env file. That's what this override is equal to true does. Then second line of code, what it does is it simply basically import the OS module. We can just cut this and we can run step by step. So okay, maybe I have to run this command first. Okay, no module name .env. Okay, so before we run the other code, let me paste it over here. So this is how we are running that step by step. Now it says .env not found, which means I have to install this package. I'll be using the UV. You go to terminal, click new terminal, comes here, and I would say UV pip install. It's .env. Done. That's the faster one. And now I'll rerun the program. Done. And I'm loading the file. And now the second thing is now we are importing the OS module from Python. What we are doing is that now we are reading this environment file. So we are calling from OS module, we are calling the get.env function. We are reading the same variable what we had defined in the your environment file. If you're given some different name, you can use different name over here. I don't want to print over here, so be careful with cursor generated code. You don't want to print it. But what I'm going to do is instead of printing, what I'll do is I'll just check whether I got the API key or not. So if API key exists, then I am going to say API key is set, and I'll just print like yeah, I'll just print the very last digit character. Maybe that's okay to print that those one. Maybe last 8 character, last yeah, last 5 character, right? Let's see. And if the key is not there, then we will simply print API key is not set. Yeah. So that's really, yeah, it says API key is set, so it was able to read the file from the dot environment, and then we got the file. Now what we're going to do is we'll be making the API call. For that we have to import the OpenAI. So to import OpenAI, again we will be using from OpenAI import OpenAI. Now don't confuse with these two words. It would be very clear. I am just pressing tab because it's already generating the code. So now we are calling client. This is client is nothing but it's a basically Python OpenAI client library. That's what we are doing, and we are creating instance of OpenAI which we imported. So this OpenAI is nothing but it's a basically object which you'd be calling the OpenAI libraries. So any basically any cloud endpoints of OpenAI if you want to call, you have to use this OpenAI. I don't think so I have to give key if I remember. If required, I'll just put it back. And then that's where the comes of now we are calling the this method client.chat.completions.create, which means this is the client which we created. This is a client library. Simple, right? Client. It's basically client library. So client.chat.completions.create. We are just calling the various methods. Finally, we are calling the create method. Which model we want to use? So GPT has many models. GPT-4o mini is one of the cost-effective model. I am using that. So you do pass in create method two things. You do pass the model and messages. In messages is a basically list of dictionary. So here we are using to simplify. We are passing a dictionary with role as a key. With role is a user, which means it's a user typing a message. Sometimes we will keep switching from user to system, which means when we want to give the context, we will be using the system. If you want to give the system prompt, then the system will come. We will touch base on later as we move along. For now, it's just think that if end user is typing something in chat GPT and you want chat GPT to respond back, you are playing a role of user. That's what you're doing. Role is user. And what is the content? So content is this much. Let's ask a question. Instead of saying hello, how are you? Yeah, let's keep it the same way. let's run through this first call. And then finally we are printing. So whatever response we get, we are just printing a response dot choices of zero dot message dot contain. That's the standard one. I just run it. Okay, it says no module found named OpenAI, which means I have to install UV pip install OpenAI. Done. Now I just run it again. Now it's calling the chat GPT APIs, sorry, GPT APIs. And when you say hello, how are you? This is what you got a response. Hello, I'm just a computer program, so I don't have feelings. But I'm here ready to help you. How can I assist you today? Nice. Now what we are going to tell is that now we would be making another call so that we will just keep practicing. We will make our muscle memory. Let's say that, we want to get some question from ChatGPT. So maybe I would say that, so let me ask a question. So what I'm going to do is response or rather, I want to get some question from ChatGPT, which means what I'm going to do is client.chat.completions.create. I just press tab and now, so this is what I got a response. And now I will tell you, please suggest me, uh, please suggest me a name. Okay, let's go for this prompt. It looks very interesting. It says, so what I'm going to tell is please suggest me a name for a startup. So I'm trying to get some idea for one of the startup which maybe I may want to start, and the startup is about that makes money by connecting people with their pets, for example. And this is what I'm trying to ask a name. So maybe let me put a name here. Final, this is my name. So I'm just asking that, hey, for example, if someone wants to run a startup that wants to make a money by connecting themselves, by connecting people with the pets, so what should be the startup name? So let's see. Wow, I like this one. It's backtick, sorry. And let's see. So wow, so you got some lot of answers. POMAT, the Pet Nexus, Companion Connect, Pow Bond. And now what I'm going to ask is that, with the same name used, I want to connect something. So maybe I want to say that, you know, so from the same name, I want to ask it. So I would be using this same name and I want to ask it uh, yeah, some more questions to it. So what I'm going to ask is, let me think on some use case, right? Basically, I want to ask more questions. Yeah, I want to ask it, that how did you arrive to this name? Let me question it back. So I'm just again trying to practice back. So I'm trying to ask more explanation, So again, I'll do that. And please explain me how you came to these names. Now, which names? So names is nothing but the names is this is the name, right? So instead of this one, instead of printing, what I need to do is I'll put it some in here, right? Name is equal to, sorry, I would put reply is equal to name dot choices of zero. Let's say that way. So I'm just storing all this response into this reply variable, and I'll be using this reply variable into here. So what I'm going to do is please explain me how you come to this name, and here I'll put reply. Okay. And then now I will get explanation. So what I'm trying to do is I'm simply chaining. I just little bit tweak the code. So I just got the names. Now this name, I'm again asking it. Again, I'm asking basically to GPT. I'm trying to make little bit agentic, not agentic, which means again I'm following up. So I'm using the answer what I got in earlier prompt. Now that answer I'm adding it as a next question, as a next prompt. So that's what I'm simply doing. I'm simply asking how you came to these names of startup. Let's see whether it's able to get it or not. Let's see. So I'll go for here and I'll just explain. I don't know whether it will try to get the context that I'm talking about those startup names. And yeah, okay, expected after dictionary key. Role, user, content, play, explain me. Ah, okay, sorry, my bad. So actually, I should be using, maybe let me use app string. It's better, right? And then I'll put it here, comma. I should not be using this one. And I'll put reply. Okay, and let's see. I'm not sure what's going to return, but I'm just trying to question him back. So if I ask someone, oh wow, wow, you see. So if I ask someone that, hey, how did you arrive this? So if you're asking your child, you know that your child is coming up with the homework that, yeah, Papa, this is the answer, and then you want to ask back to the child that, but how did you arrive to this solution? So this is what I just did. So what are the reply I got over here? I stored it in this reply variable. I'm using that reply. This means this one into the again asking GPT, you know that, but how did you arrive to these names? And it gives so nicely, right, that this is emphasized, this is why it came with fur, or why this fur friends came, this. So this was just a first program. I don't want to stretch more on system prompt or different thing. It's just a very simple kindergarten program. So shoot me a comment if you want me to cover any specific advanced or any concept which you are struggling. The idea is that when people say let's do gen ai gen ai gen ai, but how you start it? So this is how our day one will end. And shoot me a comment if you are really looking for some different concepts on GenAI space, Python space. I'm happy to explain. That's all for now. Thank you.